Hi all, Kinsey Schofield here, and I am with the author of Meghan. I'm with the author of The Queen, and probably most famously, Diana, Her True Story. I've had the pleasure to talk to you about a lot of these books.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a jaw-dropping revelation from Andrew Morton. He just revealed something shocking about Prince Harry, and it's left royal fans stunned. Harry never listened to the secret tapes of Princess Diana. Why didn't he?
But it's been a while since I've caught up with you, Andrew Morton, and you know I am the president of your fan club, so this is a long time coming.
It's been a long time. I think the last time we saw each other was briefly during the King's coronation, and everybody was working hard.
Well, I have an excellent picture of that. I'm going to submit it so that we can show it right here. One of my favorite pictures ever, because you are such a tall human being. It's like I'm standing next to an NBA player.
Well, in the NBA, I'd be short. I'm 6'4". What are you?
I'm 5'7", but you were much taller than me that day. So I saw you speak at a charity event, I believe, in Pasadena, and you were talking about The Crown coming out, and we were kind of anticipating this season where Diana was going to work with the infamous Andrew Morton on this secret book, but we hadn't seen it yet. So I wanted your reaction for the first time to me about what was it like, the process of watching The Crown, watching this story unfold, and did you feel like it was authentic? Did you feel like they did a good job?
Yeah, it was episode 2 of series 5. It was basically how the book was done, and it was the subterfuge and the kind of secrecy surrounding it, and that was conveyed quite well. I thought it, in a funny kind of way, I thought that the whole story was a lot more dramatic than it was actually on TV. And living through it, it was a daily drama. But obviously on television, you've got to adopt broad brushstrokes and pick out a couple of incidents. So they picked out the time when my office was broken into and files were taken and the camera. And also when the intermediary, a chap called James Colthurst, was knocked off his bicycle after seeing Diana, and one of the tapes went skittering across the road, and he had to rescue it before it was crushed to pulp. So those were some of the dramatic incidents that they incorporated, but there were many, many more. And I've always found that the Diana book was kind of like a watershed moment for the British monarchy. The monarchy had to really think deeply and hard about its nature and purpose.
And did they learn those lessons? Because it felt like two decades later, almost. Yeah, 2 decades later, it felt like we almost saw a similar cycle. So do you felt like they did understand that lesson and try to pivot, or did they let their guard down later in life, and that's why we saw, similarities between Harry and Meghan?
And what does this say about his version of events? Andrew Morton gave the world an inside look at Princess Diana's struggles. Diana secretly collaborated with him, recording hours of tapes about her experiences. Morton was shocked that Prince Harry never asked to hear them. Imagine writing a memoir about your mother's life but ignoring her own words. Crazy, right?
Well, I think they certainly pivoted after the Diana book came out, and what wasn't mentioned in the TV drama was the fact that there was the first ever conference organised by the Times and the Sunday Times to discuss the nature and future of the monarchy, and some real big hitters from the world of politics and law and elsewhere really thought through. And so for the first time in a generation, people asked themselves, what is the monarchy for and what is it all about? And of course, with the death of Queen Elizabeth, we've all been asking that same question: what is the monarchy about? And especially these days, with the fact that senior members of the royal family, Prince Andrew and Prince Harry particularly, are no longer working royals. They're standing outside the inner circle, and within the inner circle, you have Kate, to a degree, Fergie, and of course the King himself, all being quite seriously ill. and continuing to be seriously ill. So it's a transformative time.
Absolutely. Illness aside, because that completely rocked the family. We had them saying we're going to step back a bit because we need to heal, we need to recover, and we need treatment. And then we have the general election, which is another reason for the royal family to pull back. How would you grade King Charles on his first year on the throne? Because I did get to see you at his coronation, and it felt like there were glowing reviews, which honestly, it surprised me because I think a lot of people were so critical of Prince Charles, leading up to him becoming king, that there was a lot of doubt that he would make a good sovereign.
Well, to quote from one of Tom Wolfe's books, he is very much a man in full. He's really, he seems to have taken to his new position, his exalted position, as to the manner born, which of course he was. And all those years of waiting have shown that he's been a very safe pair of hands, and not someone who needed to be shown the ropes in any way, shape or form. And I would give him an A for diligence and for the relaxed way he's taken on the job. And he's a lot more touchy-feely than the Queen ever was. I remember on that first day when he returned to Buckingham Palace, he was kissed on several occasions by several different ladies waiting in the crowd. In fact, my daughter shook his hand, and so the House of Morton met with the House of Windsor.
Oh, I love that. Not the first time they met, but I do love that.
Let's rewind to the early 90s. Diana was trapped in an unhappy marriage, and the world thought she was living a fairy tale. But behind closed doors, she poured her heart into tapes. These revealed her struggles with mental health and the breakdown of her marriage. The book based on these tapes sent shockwaves, forcing the royal family to rethink its role. So why didn't Harry listen?
You talk about the king being touchy-feely, and I've always felt that way too. I do think that he was probably pretty cold during his marriage, inevitably, to Princess Diana, because I think he hit a wall and he felt like there wasn't anything he could do, and he just was kind of exhausted. But I have always felt like he has a soft heart, especially when it comes to his children. Did you read Spare, and what was your reaction to the way that Prince Harry discussed feeling unloved by his father not being there for him? What was your response to that? Because I do think that the king probably, especially for Harry, has a real soft spot.
Well, I mean, the king is, or as Prince of Wales, was notorious for being a very loving father, but letting the courtiers do the telling off or the organising. If, say, Harry didn't want to go to an event, he would say, "Oh, come on, darling boy," and all the rest of it, and then expect a courtier to sort it all out. So he's not been so much a hands-on father as a hands-off father, but nonetheless a very loving one. And this is what people now think, because the story of Charles and Diana's marital breakup is so familiar, we tend to forget that during their marriage, all the royal watchers, and I include myself in this, were totally blindsided by the disintegration of their marriage, because in public they were fairly affectionate to one another, And as my publisher said to me when I first broached the subject of Diana's unhappiness, he pointed at all the books in his office, all the royal books, and he said, "Look at her, all these books. She's smiling in every one of them. If she's so unhappy, how come she's smiling all the time?" And that was one of the intriguing things about the publication of Diana Her True Story, was that I was very much swimming against the tide. The tide was very much, this is a fairy tale marriage, this is a loving couple, and how dare you even make aspersions against Prince Charles's friend, Mrs. Parker Bowles.
I think it was Geraldo or Phil Donahue or Sally Jesse Raphael, but it's you on a panel and you are being attacked by a bunch of different royal commentators, all trying to tear apart your credibility because you were the lone individual saying it's not all happiness and sunshine behind the scenes. So
this is where things get interesting. Prince Harry credits his mother's legacy for shaping his life. From his battles with the press to stepping back from royal duties, Diana's experiences were a major influence. So why wouldn't he want to hear her own story? The key difference between Diana and Harry's stories. Here's where we see a major contrast.
You're absolutely right, and you can still find those clips on YouTube if anybody's curious. It's so funny to see you, back in the day and on those panels. You still have hair. You still have hair. I guess one question I would have is when you see people defending Prince Harry today, a lot of them bring up the fact that Diana wrote Diana Her True Story in secret. I mean, you did a lot of the work, but they try to compare the two, Diana Her True Story, and then Harry's Spare. I almost argue that Harry's Spare was a little bit more vindictive because it was Harry saying, this happened to me and I'm resentful over the fact that my brother said or did this, where Diana never thought that was going to come out. The agreement was it wouldn't until she was long gone. Do you agree with that, or where do you sit there?
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. I mean, Diana was behind the drapes, as it were. She was a figure in hiding, and we didn't say she had anything to do with the book. My constant phrase was, her family and friends have helped, but not the Princess of Wales, in order to give her what we call wiggle room. So in any conversations with the Queen or Prince Philip or Prince Charles about their future, she could look them in the eye and said, I had nothing to do with the Morton book. Of course, with Harry, J.R. Moehringer was his ghostwriter, but Harry was the one who put his name to the book. And that's it's a similar but different kettle of fish, because it's a first person memoir. And one of the things that's actually struck me about it was that neither Harry nor J.R. Moehringer contacted me to say, can I listen to my mother talking, or can I listen to the tapes? And I would have thought I would be the first port of call for Harry, because his memoir, Spare, is very much an affectionate homage to his mother, from page 1 to the last page. His visits to clairvoyance and so on, his visits to the Pont d'Alma, the way that he doesn't make decisions unless he's spoken to her, as it were, in her spirit self in the morning. And so this is a very, I found the book quite a touching memoir. Obviously, we have the little fisticuffs with William, but I mean, quite frankly, if being pushed towards a dog bowl is the height of brotherly antipathy, then they've got a lot more to learn.
Diana's book was written in secrecy. She gave herself wiggle room to deny involvement. Harry openly put his name on his memoir. What key details could he have missed? So, what do you think? Should Prince Harry have listened to his mother's secret tapes? Drop your thoughts below. And if you love royal deep dives, hit subscribe and give a thumbs up. The bigger picture. History is complicated. Diana and Harry's stories are connected, but not the same. Harry's perspective versus Diana's true words. Do they align? If not, what does that mean? This royal saga is far from over. Thanks for watching. See you next time.